In the news this week, Oxfordshire Council withdraws its controversial Trans Toolkit, the Scottish Government's hate crime bill threatens free speech, and churches could reopen in July. Hello. Oxfordshire Council has withdrawn its controversial Trans Toolkit amid pressure from parents and an impending court case. The Trans Inclusion Toolkit for Schools 2019, subtitled Gender is Not Pink and Blue, was implemented by Oxfordshire County Council last year. It says boys who claim to be girls should be allowed to share female toilets, changing rooms and overnight accommodation on school trips, and that the view there are only two genders is transphobic bullying. The Christian Institute's Education Officer John Denning welcomed the withdrawal.
Unfortunately, too many officials assume the best way to help a gender-confused child is to affirm them in every way, without having proper regard for how that will affect other young people, or indeed really thinking through what's genuinely in the best interests of the child concerned. But this climb down shows again that when parents stand up for what's right, it genuinely does make a difference. Hopefully, other councils will take note.
The Scottish Government's proposed hate crime legislation is a threat to free speech, Christians and atheists have warned. It seeks to extend the law on so-called hate crimes to cover religion, sexual orientation and transgender identity. If it passes, words or behaviour perceived to be abusive and likely to stir up hatred would constitute an offence. When the bill was announced, the CI's Kieran Kelly said, "Sadly, it is not difficult to see how the broad language of the bill might be used to suppress free speech. The draft includes some welcome free speech clauses, but they don't protect the freedom to disagree in every area that's necessary." Now, Chris Loggett of the National Secular Society has warned, "This vague law will undermine open debate, along with citizens' confidence that they'll be treated equally under the law and they won't be prosecuted unfairly." A peer has complained that Ofsted is unfairly downgrading primary schools which don't teach LGBT content, despite it being optional. Speaking in a House of Lords meeting, Lord Polak pointed out that Ofsted's guidance goes beyond what the Department for Education actually requires.
The guidance makes it clear that from September, schools, in consultation with parents, will determine what is age appropriate. Thus, teaching explicitly about LGBT plus matters is not mandatory for primary schools. Now, current Ofsted guidance and the practice of inspectors does not reflect this. Numerous primary schools have been downgraded in at least one category for not teaching LGBT. So can I ask my noble friend, the Minister, to confirm that Ofsted will inspect in line with DfE policy and not their own self-generated policies, and that primary schools will not be penalised if they do not teach LGBT according to the wishes of parents of a particular school?
Government Minister Baroness Berridge confirmed that LGBT teaching is optional in primary schools and added that schools are also required to take into account the religious background of the students. And finally, the government has announced that churches may be permitted to open their buildings from the 4th of July. In its 60-page COVID-19 recovery strategy, the government said it hopes to allow premises including cinemas, restaurants and churches to reopen in 7 weeks' time. However, this will be subject to the latest scientific guidance and could be pushed back. Social distancing measures would still need to be in place. Community Secretary Robert Jenrick said he was setting up a task force to establish when and how places of worship can open safely. Well, that's all for this week. For regular updates and information on all of our stories, plus much more, visit our website at christian.org.uk. Until next time, goodbye.